नमः सुन्दरनाथाय तस्मै हालास्य वासिने चतुष्षष्टि विधालीला येनाकारि भुवस्थले श्रीमत्सुन्दरनाथस्य देवीं शफरलोचनां कलये हृदये नित्यं कदम्ब वनवासिनीं पूतं स्वतः पूतपरं ततो यद्गाङ्गं पयः शङ्करमौळिसङ्गा तत्पातु मातुः प्रणयापराध पादाहते पूततमं ततो नः. We are at the last section of this Leela and this Sarga. Another couple of shlokas and we'll be done with the Sarga. So we saw till the 99th shloka. Parikharandhrataha tatra Patala Jannavi Jalam Jalayantradiva Uttastau Bhumyantam Bhutalachutam Bhaginim Bhagini Shancha द्रष्टुं प्राकारकैतवात् उन्ममज्ज इव मैनाखः परिखासागरात् ततः राजसिंहैः नरव्याघ्रैः पूरितं भटकुञ्जरैः पुरं यथा पुरं जज्ञे का तस्य अन्य उपमा भवेत्. The Madurai city was being built there and a lot of trees were felled. They were removed, but at the same time there was a beautiful city that was being built. They had a parikha, they had a prakaram. And then there are parikha. Parikha is like a moat, agarimbo, Tamil. It was as if Jannavi Jalam came from the Patalam and it filled the moat completely with water. The prakaram which extended out seemed like it rose from the sagaram. Here the moat or the parikha is compared to an ocean, and this prakaram that rose from there seemed as if it was Mainaka which had come there to see Parvati. So this is the poet's imagination here, the way he explains it. That city seemed like there was no difference between the city and the forest before, because the city was also filled with the Rajasimhaha, Naravyagraha and Bhatakunjaraha. You usually see lions and tigers and elephants in a forest. Here also there were people who were like tigers and warriors who were like elephants, very formidable warriors. And there were also kings and princesses. There was only one king, Kulashekara. Parantu tatra Rajasimhaha iti chet Samanta Chakreshu ye Rajanaha vidyante te tu Simha Sadrishaha asanniti. So the Samanta Chakra, all the vassal kings who had all come there, or the princes, the king's children, those who were relatives of the king, all of them were like, each one of them was like a lion there. If you've read novels of like Pauline Selvan and all that, you will know how the description goes for even the Senapati and others who belonged to that Kshatriya Kula. They were looked upon like lions because of their Veeram and the Thoranam, yeah, the Gambhiryam with which they had a personality which was very attractive to a lot of people. So it seemed as if the forest animals were just replaced by people here who were as brave as the animals themselves. So Yathapuram Jagye. So Tasya ka anya upama. What other upama can we give for such a city which was built and which had so many great people? What other upama can we give other than its own earlier existence? That's all. Now the next few shlokas are very simple shlokas as he goes towards the end of the Sarga. Chindadbihi tadvanam tatra sheshitam yat kvachit kvachit tanyeva tasya udyanani sarvataha prachakashire. They did not have to make a separate udyanam for the city. So usually when you build a city, you try to make man-made gardens and reserves and all that, but there are also places which are natural reserves which are still preserved in the city here and there. If you look at Madras, there are places like Presidency College or IIT Madras or Punga, some Adyar Punga. These are all places where the natural reserves are all maintained as is, and the city is just built around them. So he explains that section here. He says, Chindadbihi tadvanam, tadvanam chindadbihi. As the people who were cutting down that forest, tatra kvachit kvachit, wherever they, yat kvachit kvachit sheshitam, whatever was remaining, Tani sarvani yatyat kvachitam kvachit there here and there in certain places kvachit ityukte kutrachit in some place kvachit in another place wherever in certain places sheshitam that vanam the forest which was just remaining tanyeva those places became the udyanam or the pleasure gardens for that city tasya nagarasya udyanani sarvataha in all places prachakashire chakashate chakashire kashate iti dhatuhu or prakashate with the upasarga. When you take the upasarga and do a little akaram over that, then it is prachakashire. Tani eva udyanani sarvataha prachakashire. There were many gardens in that city because those places which were left without being cut by the people who were cutting became gardens like natural reserve places. Chindadbihi tadvanam tatra seshitam yat kvachit tani eva tasya udyanani sarvataha prachakashire. Vithika utsavartha ya vihita vishwakarmana chaturnamapi varnanam tayeva asan prithak prithak. When Vishwakarma had built this, the Sundaramurti, the old temple in the Krita Yugam, in another Krita Yugam, right? So when Vishwakarma had built the temple, he had also built a Vithika everywhere. When we saw the second Leela for Indrasya Shapa Vimochanam, there we saw that Indra came and built a temple here for Somasundara. Afterwards, it became covered by trees and everything, and nobody knew where he was. Right? So now the Vithika, the roads that were built for Utsavam before, Yaha Vishwakarmana Vihitaha, those that were built by the divine architect Vishwakarma before, for the sake of Utsavam, they now became the different roads for different varnas, like the Chatur Varnam, the four varnas of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. These four varnas, these four Vithi became the four roads for those four varnas to stay. So yaha Vishwakarmana yaha Vithikaha Utsavarthaha Vihitaha, those roads that were created for an Utsava, for a festival. Usually we go around the temple or the temple tank when the deity is taken out for an Utsavam. So there are huge four Madavidimbo. In Tamil we call it Madavidhi, which is four huge roads that are usually constructed for a big chariot to come out of the temple and go around and come back to the temple place. So these roads were usually very wide. So Vithika, Utsavartha Vithikaha, these roads were specifically constructed before by Vishwakarma for Utsavam, for festival purposes. And those four roads, Prithak Prithak, separately, they came to be places for. So it was probably there, even though a forest might have come about, we still saw that the Devas came down from the Sarga every Somavaram to do a puja and aradhana. So they must have probably used those paths. And even in the forest, you would find sometimes paths that have been used by hunters and all, where, because there is a foot traffic constantly, there won't be any plants which grow there in between. And even when people see a plant growing, they will remove it so that the path is identifiable for people who go into the forest. We will know only if we have gone into the forest many times and seen. Today we can find this characteristic in trails. In and around the US, at least we have a lot of trails. There are many trails in this thing also. In fact, when in Queen Mary's College or in Presidency College, you will find there are pathways there which go inside and you can walk around. Right? So those paths now, when the city was built, it became a road for that particular varnas to stay. So Chaturnam api varnanam, for all four castes, which are Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Shudra. Vela, idhula kuda irukku. Even in that Thiruvilayadal Puranam Tamil, you have that these four people had four different areas for them to stay. It was easier because they shared a same cultural background, and so it was easier for them if they stayed together as a community. It was easier to share notes. Okay, so those roads became separately the streets for all the four varnas. So वीथिकाः उत्सवार्था या विहिता विश्वकर्मणा चतुर्णामपि वर्णानां ताः एव आसन् पृथक् पृथक् पाण्डरैः भवनैः पूर्णे प्राकारे धाम शाम्भवम् मध्ये मौक्तिकताटङ्कं रेजे रत्नमिव अर्पितम्. There were white buildings built in that city. Fully. Pandaraihi bhavanaihi purne prakare. Prakaram is the bahirveshtana nagara avarani bhutam, that which covers the entire city as a road. You know, you can have a circular road which covers the entire city, and so from there, if you look, that entire city was filled with the bhavanam which was white in color. So pandaraihi shwetavarnaihi bhavanaihi grihaihi purne purite prakare, in that compound which was filled with white buildings. In the middle there was Parameshwara's dhama, Shambhavam dhama reje. Shambhavam Shambhoho idam Shivasya dhama mandiram reje. It was shining in the middle, it glowed in the middle like a gem. Ratnam iva arpitam kutra madhye moktika tatanka. You have a nice beautiful earring made of pearls. முத்துக்கள் சைடு எல்லாம் பதிச்சு வச்சது. And then in the middle you have a ratnam, any kind of gem. Maybe it was red or black or dark color, because probably they had built a temple which was Karangal, which was a dark stone. And so it was like all of the other buildings were all white in color, and in the middle you had this temple which was like a jewel, and it glowed like a jewel in the middle of a earring which was made of pearls. Tatankam is like a flat round earring which you wear in the ear, and Tatankam is also Ambal's very, it's a representative of Saubhagyam usually. That's why in Saundaralahari also you have the shloka Tavajanani Tatanka Mahima iti. Parameshwara drank the poison, he did not let it go inside, nor did he spit it outside. If he had spit it outside, again the world would have been destroyed. If he had consumed it inside, the entire world is there in his stomach also, and again the world would have completely been destroyed. So he had to keep it in his throat here and not let it out in any manner, nor ingest it. Okay, so this Sudhamapi Aswadya Pratibhajara Mrityuhare. So how could this happen, and how did Shiva not die? Ityukte, Adi Shankara gives an explanation. He says it is all because of your Tatanka Mahima. Wearing an earring is the Saumangalya Chinnam. So that Tatankam is like Devi's Tirumangalyam. We say it's like the wedding chain, right? So Tadha Asti Tatankam api. So madhye Mauktika Tatankam. Mauktikanam Tatankam, Mauktika Tatankam. Mauktika Tatankasya madhye iti. Then you take that madhya in the front, and it becomes an Avyayi Bhava Samasa. There is a specific sutra for this, Pare Madhye Shashtyava. So you can also say Pare Gangam. Gangayaha Pare, on the banks of Ganga. You make it into a Samastapadam, compound word, and say Pare Gangam. It just stays like that. In the same way, here also he has made this Samastapadam as Madhye Mauktika Tatankam. Mauktika Tatankasya Madhye. Iti Vigraha Vakyam Tatra. So in the middle of an earring made of pearls, Arpitam Ratnam. Arpitam ityukte Khachitam. A Ratnam has been placed, or it has been studded with a gem in the middle, a big gem in the middle, surrounded by pearls on all sides. So this Parameshwara's Dhama, Mandiram, it was like a ratnam in the middle of a Mauktika Tatankam. Yeah. There is an upama here because Ratnam iva arpitam iti asti. So the iva shabdaha sadrishyavachakaha shabdaha asti. Tasmat atra upamalankarah vartate. Pandaraihi bhavanaihi purne prakare dhama shambhavam madhye moktikataatankam reje also rajate iti latlakare. Reje is in litlakara. Okay. Reje ratnamiva arpitam. दिशि च उत्तरपूर्वस्यां देवदेवस्य मन्दिरात् निर्मलं भवनं राज्ञः निर्ममुः तस्य शिल्पिनः. Simple shloka. To the northeast of that temple, Parameshwara's temple, the architects built a home which was very bright or pure, a wonderful home for the king. That's all there is here. So Shilpinaha nirmamuhu. Nirmame, nirmamat, okay. Nirmamuhu. How does the ekavachanam come? It's mamuhu. Nirmamuhu. Vandudilla munnadi. Hama. Mamau. Sorry. How did I just slipped my mind? Mamau, mamate, mamatuhu, mamuhu. Parasmaipadi. It's an adadi dhatu. Nirmamuhu. Nirmati. Nirmati, nirmataha, nirmanti is your latlakara. In litlakara, you have nirmamau, nirmamatuhu, nirmamuhu. Shilpinaha, nirmamuhu. The architects built. What did they build? Nirmalam bhavanam, nirmamuhu. They built a bhavanam, a home for the king, a beautiful home or a bright home. Nirmalam need not be just dosharahitam. It was not dirty. You don't need to take it into a very small thing like that. Nirmala can also be a very bright or a shuddham graham, which was very beautiful to look at. So Nirmalam Bhavanam, they built a bright home. Tasya Rajnaha, for that king Kulashekara. Where did they build it? Devadevasya Mandirat Uttarapurvasyam Dishi. Uttarapurvasyam dishi, dishi in the direction which is northeast. Uttarapurva. Uttarasyaha purvasyaha cha dishoho antarale. So Uttarapurva is a dik. It is a direction which is in between these two. The Vigraha Vakyam itself is formed like this using one sutra in Panini's. So you have Uttara and Purva, these two, the middle direction between these two. So Uttarasyaha Purvasyaha cha dishoho antaralam is Uttarapurva dik. Okay, which is the northeast direction. In the northeast direction to what? To the temple of Parameshwara. So Devadevasya Mandirat Uttarasyam Dishi, to the northeast of the Lord's temple, Parameshwara's temple. Shilpinaha, the architects, Nirmamuhu, they built a beautiful home, Nirmalam Bhavanam, for the king, Tasya Rajnaha. Dishicha Uttarapurvasyam Devadevasya Mandirat Nirmalam Bhavanam Rajnaha Nirmamuhu Tasya Shilpinaha. Prasadaha Shushubhe Tatra Bhavane Dharanipatehe Bhaktya Maheshituhu Vriddhaha Prasadaiva Nirmalaha. That home was also glowing like Parameshwara's grace. Prasadam itself, Anugraham itself had come there and it was growing. Because he had a great devotion towards Parameshwara, Kulashekara had a great devotion towards Parameshwara, that his palace itself had that beautiful aura, a glow which was there. It seemed as if the Anugraham of Parameshwara had grown into a palace like this. So it's an Utreksha here. So Prasadaha Shushubhe, that palace glowed or it was looking bright. Tatra Nagaryam, Madhurapuryam, Dharanipatehe Bhavane Prasadaha Shushubhe. Now there are two things here. One is Bhavanam, the other is Prasada. Usually Bhavanam is a palace. Prasadaha is also a palace. Now, how do we take this bhavane prasadaha? Bhavanam ityukte, you take it as the palace grounds. So there can be many different buildings inside a palace ground. If you have gone to Mysore Palace, you will know that there are many different buildings where you have to go in and go out. One is Darbar, one is the Antappuram. There will be another which is the King's Palace. So there will be different buildings within the palace grounds. So you take it as bhavane, would mean in that home of the king. धरणीपतेः धरण्याः पतिः भूम्याः पतिः सः नृपतिः तस्य नृपस्य भवने गृहे राजभवनम, in particular his own his apartment, only his building. Okay, so that is prasadaha. Or you can even call prasada as the terrace portion where the king always stays, is also called prasada. So tatra dharanipatehe bhavane, in that home of the king, prasadaha, his palace or the terrace, glowed out of because of the devotion that he had towards Parameshwara. Maheshituhu bhaktya vriddaha nirmalaha prasadaha iva. That prasada was like prasada. Prasada is the terrace or the bhavanam, Raja Bhavanam. It was like a personification of prasada, the grace or anugraham of Parameshwara. Nirmalaha anugraha asit, Shuddhaha anugraha. There was no, because he had built what Parameshwara desired. Right? Parameshwara came, Ishvara came to his dream and told him that I want a city here, I want you to build a temple here, make a city and you live in that city. Tasya Parameshwarasya Agnyam Swikritya Ayam Tathaiva Kritavan iti Karanat Parameshwarasya Tatra Pritihi Jata. He was extremely pleased with his behavior. So Maheshituhu Bhaktya, because of the devotion towards Maha Ishita, the supreme controller, Parameshwara, Maha Ishituhu Bhaktya, out of devotion towards Parameshwara, his grace started growing. And it seemed as if it had taken a personification in the form of this Raja Bhavana. Is that clear? So, Vriddhaha ityukte vardhitaha, puritaha. Parameshwarasya premna puritaha anugrahaha atra Rajabhavana rupena shushubhe iti. So, prasadaha shushubhe tatra bhavane dharanipatehe bhaktya maheshituhu vriddhaha prasada iva nirmalaha. The next one, Divyaihi Sudhamayaihi Meghaihi Devo Jimutavahanaha Nagaram Sechayamasa Navinam Trini Ahani Saha. Usually, when a good thing happens in a city, immediately rain falls. We have when there is good rain, suddenly when there is when there is drought, or when the city has been tortured by Grishma Kala, the sun has been blazing hot, and suddenly there is a rain for a day, and then again it goes back. Usually we say, it's the sudden grace that Parameshwara has shown for someone who has done some stotram somewhere. We still have this expression, we say, நாட்டுல நல்லவா இருக்கிறதுனால தான் மழை பெய்யறதும்போம். It still rains because there are good people in this city. That's why. So rain is always associated with anything that is good. Not torrential rain, but more in the sense of, a well-needed rain, which is useful for the crops. So here too, as soon as the city was built, for 3 days there was rain. That is, Indra showered this new city with rain for 3 days. And it was as if that, not as if, but it was nectar-filled rain. It was pure water that just showered. Mummari பொழியறதுங்கறோம் இல்லையா, 3 நாள் கண்டினியூஸா, for 3 days it was raining. Divyaihi sudhamayaihi meghaihi, with divine clouds, divyaihi meghaihi, and the clouds were also filled with sudha, filled with nectar. Devaha jimutavahanaha, Indra, navinam nagaram sechayamasa, he showered this new city, trini ahani, for 3 continuous days. Now, Jimuta Vahanaha here means Jimutaha Meghaha eva Vahanam Yasya Devaha Saha Indraha. So Indra, who has the cloud as his vahana. So Megha Devaha Jimuta Vahanaha Divyaihi Sudamayaihi Megaihi Sechayamasa. He sprinkled the city with water. So just enough. It's not something that just made it flood with water, right? So Trini Ahani Sechayamasa. If you notice, this is in Dvitiya Vibhakti. The sutram that applies here is Kala Advanoho Atyanta Samyoge. Atyanta Samyoge. Kalasya Atyanta Samyoge Dvitiya Bhavati. So when you want to indicate a time frame wherein something happened continuously without a break, then you put that time frame in Dvitiya Vibhakti. Trini ahani sechayamasa. Sechana karma, sechana kriya, tatra anavarataya, santatam, tatra without vignam vina, trini ahani, it was the sechana kriya tu pravartita asit. It was continuously going on for 3 days without a break. That's the idea you get from this Dvitiya Vibhakti. If it was Dinena Sechayamasa, if I use Tritiya Vibhakti, then it means within a day. I need not have used all 24 hours within a day, but maybe even in 1 hour it would have been done. The work would have been completed. A very easy example would be Masam Pathati, Masena Pathati. So Masam Patati in a very nice manner, if you have to say Masena Patati, he read for a month. He may not have read all days, but within a month he completed that syllabus. But if you say Masam Patati, he reads every day for the entire month, but nothing has entered his head. That is another way of looking at it. But here that's not the case. Here you take it as Atyanta Samyoga, because Indra also wanted to show his happiness that such a great city was built. He also showered the new city for 3 days continuously with divine clouds. Divyaihi Megaihi Sudhamayaihi, which is also filled with nectar. Divyai Sudhamayir Meghaihi Devo Jimutavahanaha Nagaram Sechayamasa Navinam Trini Ahani Saha Madhurodaka Samsikta. Now this is why the 3 days of rain is important, because it gives the name of Madhura to that city. There was an Ashariri Vak which came at the end of it also and said that because this city was showered by nectar, it is called Madhura. It should be called Madhurapuri. Iti Asharirini Vak Asit. Madhurodaka Samsikta Madhureyam Mahapuri Ityashruyata Tatrattehi Divya Vak Asharirini. Divya Asharirini Vak Ashruyata. Ashruyata Janaihi Ashruyata. It was heard by the people. What was heard? Divya, a very divine. Asharirini Vak. Shariram asya nasti iti. Asyaha nasti iti tadrishi Vak. Akasha Udbhuta Vak. So it is if you say not corporeal. Corporeal means that which has a body. Incorporeal, that which does not have a body, a heavenly voice. So a divine heavenly voice was heard by the people who were staying there. Tatrattaihi janaihi, nagare bhavaihi janaihi. By the people who were all present there, a very divine Akashavani was heard. What did it say? Iti ashruyata. Evam prakarena ashruyata. What was heard? Madhura udaka samsikta iyam mahapuri Madhura. Iti. Madhura udaka samsikta. Being drenched by the sweet waters. Madhura udakena jalena samsikta ardrikrita. This city iyam mahapuri, this great city, being drenched by the sweet rain or sweet waters, it is to be called as Madhura. Madhura iti nama tasyaha. So asya puryaha nama tu Madhura. Kimartham evam Madhura iti nama? Madhura udaka samsikta iti karanat. So as soon as the city was built, Indra showered it with the sweet nectar-filled rain, and so this entire city is called Madhura. It is also a representation of the Sudha Sagara Madhyastha iti. Ambal Tripura Sundari is supposed to be in the center of Shripuram, which is surrounded by the Sudha Sagaram, or the nectar ocean, an ocean filled with nectar. Because this city has also been showered with nectars, it is a, there is a sannidhyam of Parameshwara and Shakti here. More importantly, Shakti has a great sannidhyam here in Madurai. Madhurodaka Sansikta Madhureyam Mahapuri iti Ashruyata Tatratyaihi Divya Vak Asharirini. Now, you see, as soon as the meter changes, we know that the Sarga is going to end. There are two shlokas with different meters. Durga Ganesha Vatukeshwara Matra Vargaihi. This is in Basanta Tilakam. The next one, I think, is in Shardula Vikriditam. Yeah. Durga Ganesha Vatukeshwara Matra Vargaihi Adhyasitam Suvihiteshu Nijaspadeshu Sadyaf Pravartita Mahesha Mahotsavante Pandyo Vivesha Nagarim Madhuram Prahrishtaha. So as soon as the Nagaram was built and it was showered by nectar, and a divine voice came and said that this city has to be called Madhura. You have to enter any place looking at all the dates and times and everything, and then enter into the city. So Pravartita Mahesha Mahotsava Ante. So he first conducted a Mahotsavam, a festival for Parameshwara. At the end of that festival, Pravartita Mahesha, Pravartita is Narattapattanu solluvom. A Maheshwara's Mahotsava, a great festival of Parameshwara, which was conducted by him. First he did a festival for Parameshwara, and then at the end of that festival, Pravartita Mahesha Mahotsavasya Ante, at the completion of the festival of Parameshwara, which had begun, Sadhyaha, immediately at the completion of that, Pandyaha Madhuram Nagarim Vivesha, he entered into this city of Madhura. Now, how was this Madhura? It was occupied by many other devatas also. Nija aspadeshu suvihiteshu satsu. Take this as a Sati Saptami separately. Okay? When their cities were all built, Nija aspadeshu suvihiteshu satsu. When all the houses were all built, that is, everybody must have entered at the same time. This is not like, okay, I have completed my this thing, I will only occupy this apartment, iti tatha nasti. In today's world, that's how it happens. Two people will occupy their apartment, the others will want to do some internal work and all that, right? Tatha nasti. Everybody's house was completed completely. Nija aspadeshu suvihiteshu satsu. Not only everybody's houses, but the houses or the temples of those particular devatas, small temples in and around Madurai, or inside that Someshwara temple also, Somasundara's temple, you had certain small sannidhis also, and all of those sannidhis were also completed. Not only the main Garbhagraha was done and then they immediately started the temple activities iti thatana, sarveshu nija aspadeshu suvihiteshu satsu. When all of their respective homes or temples were all completed, suvihita, sunirmiteshu satsu, when they were all completed properly, and these devatas had, when all of these were completed properly, Pandya Raja entered into that city, Madhura, which was Adhyasita, which was occupied by. So this Madhura city was Adhyasita. So Adhyasitam Madhuram, occupied by whom? There is a host of devatas which he mentions here. One is Durga, Ganesha, Vatuka, Ishvara or Vatukeshwara, Matravarga. So there are four kinds of devatas that he mentions here. One is Durga, Devi, and then Ganesha, Ganapati. Vatuka or Vatukeshwara, there are two meanings for Vatukeshwara. One is Vatuka means Vatu is a brahmachari. So here Subramanya is supposed to be called as a Vatukaha because he is a brahmachari. In certain areas of in the North India, especially in North India, you have Subramanya as a brahmachari and Ganesha as a married person with Siddhi and Buddhi. Whereas here we have Valli and Devane, whereas and Ganesha does not have any consort. There are certain things like Vallabha Ganapati you have here. We have a Vallabha also as a consort for wife of Ganapati. But in general, we only talk of Ganapati and Hanuman and all as Brahmachari in the south. Whereas north, they have a Batuka. Even Subramanya also, if you take the Arupadai Vidu, Parani was before Devane, right? So even before his marriage, he is also called a brahmachari. So Vatukaha can mean Subramanya also, or there is a Bhairava, which is Parameshwara's another form, Bhairaveshwara, who is also called Vatuka Bhairava. This Vatuka Bhairava is a Chakravasi. That is, he is present in the Bindu along with Tripura Bhairavi. This is very popular in Kashmir Shaivism. Nilakanta Dikshita is a person who knows Shaiva Siddhanta a lot, and he is, because he is the descendant of Appaya Dikshita also, so he has a very great knowledge of Shaiva Siddhanta. So he could mean Bhairava also here. So I've mentioned both. Vatukeshwara can mean either Subramanya Sannidhi or Bhairava's Sannidhi. Matrivargaha are the Matrikas, Saptamatrika or Ashtamataraha. Two versions are there. Again, you also have a Navadurga, which is another version also. In Madurai near Padamudircholai, I think Tirupparangundram, you have the Saptamatrika's temple there. Brahmi, Vaishnavi, Aindri, Raudri, Varahi, Kauberi or Chamunda, Kaumari. These are the 7 matrikas which are the shaktis of those particular devatas. Brahma's shakti within him, which makes him do the work of creation, is called Brahmi. Vaishnavi is the shakti of Vishnu. Raudri is the shakti of Rudra. In Aindri is the shakti of Indra. Varahi is the shakti of Varaha. Kauberi is the shakti of Kubera, or Chamunda is another shakti. Kaumari is the shakti of Kumara. These are called the Saptamataraha because they are the principal primordial concept or shakti which make this Brahmaswarupam or Ishvara Tattvam to do that particular work in this world. Clear? So there is a temple for them also. Matrivargaihi Adhyasitam. So this Madhura Puri, where he entered, was a place which was occupied by Durga, Ganesha, Subramanya or Bhairava and the Saptamatrikas. Tadrishim Madhura Nagarim Saha Pandyaha Vivesha. Kada Vivesha? Immediately after completing the Utsavam for Maheshwara, because it was an auspicious time to enter. Durga Ganesha Vatukaihi Durga Ganesha Vatukeshwara Matrivargair Adhyasitam Suvihiteshu Nijaspadeshu Sadyaf Pravartita Mahesha Mahotsavante Pandyo Vivesha Nagarim Madhuram Prahrishtaha. The last shloka of this Sarga is in Shardula Vikriditam. As he has done in the earlier Sargas also, the last shloka is always seems to be Shardula Vikriditam, because you can put in a lot. It's a bigger playground, right? You have some 19 aksharas there, and so you can include more words and you can combine a lot of things, a lot of ideas in it and bring it out. Arthair Arthijanan Shrutai Shrutavata Sammananair Bandhavan Sevabhir Mahato Nisarga Karuna Vatyasa Bhrityan Drisha Atmanatma Vivekato Girisham Apyaradhayan Medinim Bhupalaha Kulashekarotra Bhuje Saptarnavi Veshtitam. Arthaihi arthijanan shrutaihi shrutavataha sammananaihi bandhavan sevabihi mahataha nisarga karunavatya drisha bhrityan atma anatma vivekataha girisham api aradhayan. Aradhayan, pujayan, worshipping each set of people with the things that they will want. So you never do things from your perspective. You will always have to do things from another person's perspective. Then only it is doing something for the others. You can't, it's like gaslighting, or you can't say that, oh, this is what you have to do, this is what is best for you. That's not how you do it. The king shows how beautifully arthijanan arthaihi aradhayan. He pujayan, he worships, or he graces. I'll answer questions at the end after the shloka is done, so you can raise your hands then. Okay. Pleasing others. So he pleased all the yachaka, arthijana with the artha, whatever they wanted. So he pleased them with the object that they would want. Vastu. Yachakaihi arthitaihi vastubihi saha arthijanan yachakan aradhayati. So he pleased the people who were asking for charities. Whatever they wanted, he would give them. It was not what he wanted to give. And then next is Shrutavataha Shrutaihi. This is also in Dvitiya Bahuvachanam. Shrutavan Shrutavantau Shrutavantaha Shrutavantam Shrutavantau Shrutavataha. So which means Shastrajnyan Shrutam Shastram or Vedaha. So Shravanam. Shravanam asya asti iti. Shastram asya asti iti. Shastram ye jananti. Te eva Shrutavantaha iti. Tan Shrutavataha Shrutaihi, Shrutaihi, Shastra Vicharaihi. With the same Shastram, he pleased them. Whatever they wanted to be pleased with. You go and give them money, they are not going to be happy. They will only be happy if you conduct Vedanta Sadas or Shastra Vichara Sadas, and you occupy that a Madhyastha position, you be a neutral there, and you conduct such sabhas and give them sammanana only for the shastram that they have displayed, then they are very happy, right? So Shrutavataha Shrutaihi, this is what Kulashekara Pandya did. He's saying all that. Next is Bandhavan Sammananaihi. Sammanana Karaniya. Adara. You show respect or honor to your relatives. You don't treat them as some relatives from the village who don't know anything. Tathanasti. Anybody, whoever comes from wherever they are, for those relatives, Kulashekara Pandya showed so much of respect that when you show respect to another person, you will also in return get that respect from them. Okay? So Bandhavan Sammananaihi Aradhayan. He honored the relatives with the Sammanana, with great honors. Then Sevabihi Mahataha, for great people or noble people. Pujyaha ye vartante. Teshantu tatra artham will not help. You give them any honor, award, position, that and all won't help. They only want to be served. In the sense, you go and do, seva to them, or ashrayanadikam, shravanam, mananam, whatever. You go and do seva to them, then they will be very pleased. They are elderly people or people who have to be worshipped. Mahataha, again, this is also in Dvitiya Bahuvachanam. Mahan Mahantau Mahantaha, Mahataha, Mahantam Mahantau Mahataha iti. So Mahataha Sevabihi Aradhayan. Tadanantaram Bhrityan. The servants, he worshipped them, that is, he pleased them by a very compassionate eye. He showed them a very compassionate attitude. Nisarga Karunavati Drik. It's an adjective to Drik here, which is in Strilingam. So with an eye that is filled with Karuna, Daya, empathy towards the servants. Parameshwaram. Girisham, how did he worship Parameshwara or please Parameshwara here? Girishaha tu girau shete girishaha iti. Or girihi asya ashrayatvena vartate iti girishaha. It is a specific sutra that comes there for a shap pratyaya also. So you can have both vyutpattis there. So Girishaha here means Parameshwara. How can he please Parameshwara? Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekataha. By having a discriminating power between eternal and not in non-eternal things. Atma Anatma Vivekataha. Atma Nitya Nitya Bhutam Vastu. Anitya Bhutam Sarvam Anatma Maya. Viveka is discriminating power. Vicharaha, Vichya Jnanam, Ekava Vivekaha. So by the knowledge of discriminating between what is eternal and what is non-eternal, he had that power. He could please Parameshwara there. Girishamapi Aradhayan. Not only did he please Yachaka, Pandits, learned, relatives, servants, and great people, noble ones, he also pleased Parameshwara with his discriminating power between the eternal and non-eternal things. This Kulashekara, what did he do? I am Saha भूपालः कुलशेखरः अत्र अस्ति सः भूपालः कुलशेखरः अत्र मधुरापुर्याम् in Madurai सप्तार्णवी वेष्टितां मेदिनीं बुभुजे. Bubhuje is usually bhuj dhatu in Atmanepadi. If you use it in Bhunakti, when you use it in Parasmepadi, it is upabhoga. Sorry, it is rakshana. That is palayati ite. So you have you can use it in Parasmepadi only if it is for rakshana. But if it is in Atmanepadi, this is more like upabhogaha. But instead of that, we will take it as shashasa iti. He ruled. So he ruled both for his benefit and for the others also. That is why you have it in Atmanepadi. You don't need to take it as a Rakshanam, because there is a specific rule that Panini has given where he says Bhujo Anavane iti. Only in not in Palanartham. You can have it in Atmanepadi. Otherwise, it should be in Parasmepadi if it is in Palanartham. Then the context may be tough to explain. So you can say it is in Atmanepadi because he also reaped the benefits of it by getting the punyam from this, from enjoying what is there in this city. Okay. So Arthaihi, Arthijanan, Shrutaihi, Shrutavataha, Sammananaihi, Bandhavan, Sevabihi, Mahato, Nisarga, Karuna, Vatya, Sabhrityam, Drisha, Atmanatma Vivekato, Girishamapi, Aradhayan, Medinim. I forgot to mention that. How did he, what did he enjoy? He enjoyed this earth. Medinim Bubhuje. He enjoyed this entire earth, which is covered by the seven seas. Saptarnavi Veshtitam. Saptanam Arnavanam Samaharaha Saptarnavi. Panchavati. Itivat Tatrapi Samastapadam. So this earth, which is Veshtita by the group of seven seas, it is covered by the group of seven seas. So you'll read in the Puranas and all, both Vishnu Puranam, Bhagavatam and other Puranas, you will read how this earth was divided into seven islands based on the seven seas that came and intersected the earth into seven islands. So there are seven seas and seven islands. Saptadvipa Vasundhara iti. Atra Saptarnavi Veshtita Sapta Sagara Madhyastha. She is also in the middle of seven seas surrounding this earth. So Saptarnavi Veshtitam Medinim Bubhuje. He enjoyed this earth which was surrounded by the seven seas. In Thiruvilayadal Puranam, you will find that he rules for a long time. Then he places his son as the king there, and he attains Sayujya Padavi. He goes to the temple, he spends the rest of his days in the temple, and he attains Sayujya Padavi with the Shiva. So he attains oneness with Parameshwara. Kulashekara Pandya was a great devotee for. So this is the third Leela that we saw in this Chaturtha Sarga. There were two Leelas that we saw in this entire Sarga. One was, to give a recap of this entire thing, one was Airavata's Shapa Vimochanam, where Indra was traveling and he met Durvasa. Durvasa had brought a prasadam of Bhagavati, which was a pushpam, and he gave that pushpam to Indra. Indra, as with his usual arrogance, he placed it on the top of the head of Airavata, and Airavata promptly was just completely confused by the smell of that lotus, and it just took it and crushed it with his legs. So Durvasa immediately cursed him to be an elephant on the bhumi, like an ordinary elephant. He did not behave like a divine elephant, so he cursed him to be an ordinary elephant, and then amended that curse to say that whenever he comes within the presence of Parameshwara, he will be transformed and he will come back as Airavata. So the play of Airavata as a normal elephant was given, and how he was extraordinary, even though he was born as a normal elephant, how this elephant was extraordinary and much better than the other elephants was described by Nilakanta Dikshita earlier on. And by chance, he came to the temple of Somasundara. So, and he attained his original, he took a bath in this Pushkarini, Suvarna Pushkarini, and he attained his original form of Airavata and went back to Swargam. So that was one Leela. The second Leela was covered. Then the third Leela was, after so many years that temple was completely covered by forest. We had Dhananjaya, who was a Vaishya, who was traveling, and he was also a Shiva Bhakta. I had a brief description of Dhananjaya's Shiva Bhakti also, and how, as he was traveling around different countries, it was nightfall, and he was right outside Kadambavanam, and he decided to spend the night there. When it was extremely dark, suddenly he started hearing the sounds of puja and all. So he started following that sound, and Bhagavan decided to give him Divya Drishti. So Dhananjaya got that Divya Drishti, and he was able to see Devatas and Gandharvas, Rishis and all doing a puja for Sundareshwara, Sundarlingam. He wakes up in the morning, he comes back to the Kalyana Nagaram where he was staying and he was born. He comes back, he relates all of this to his relatives, and then he goes to the king who was ruling there, which is Kulashekara Pandya. He goes and tells him about what happened at night. Kulashekara Pandya, meanwhile, he goes to sleep with this thought in his mind, and he saw a vision of a Suddha Purusha who had Kala, Chandra Kala on his matted hair. And that Siddha Purusha tells him that I have been in this forest for a long time, surrounded by all wild animals. I want you to reduce that forest to a city, may build a city there and build me a temple there. You also stay there and you will become prosperous because of that. So following that advice, he calls a council of all the architects. The architects have an argument about how to build the city. Then the same Siddha Purusha who came in his vision arrives there, and he tells all of them how to build the city, what to do, where, etc. He gives the itikartavyata. He gives a blueprint for all the architects, and the architects follow that. They build the city. After the building of the city, 3 days there was rain, and it was a Sudhamaya Vrishti. Because it was Madhura Vrishti, an Ashariri Vak came and said that the city has to be called as Madhura. So on an appointed day after the festival of Parameshwara, Pandya king enters into that city and he rules for a long time. With this, the fourth Sarga is also ending, and the third Leela of the 64 Leelas are done. Okay. Yeah, you have any questions, you can raise your hand. Unmute yourself and ask. Namaste. Yeah. Namaste. Hello. I am not able.
Hello.
Cholango.
Okay.
Namaste.
I thought I should not. I should let the students ask questions first.
Nobody has raised their hands, so you can.
Okay. எனக்கு ஒன்றும் கொஸ்டின் இல்லை. எனக்கு வந்து நீங்க கடைசி ஒரு 5 மினிட்ஸ்ல நேரேட் பண்ண ஸ்டோரி எல்லாம் கேட்டதுக்கு அப்புறம் குழந்தைகள் எல்லாமும் இந்த மாதிரி கேட்கணும். நீங்க குழந்தைகளுக்காக ஒவ்வொரு கதையும்
சுருக்கமா சொல்லணுங்கிறடா.
நம்ம சுருக்கமாவோ என்ன எப்படியெல்லாம் விஸ்தாரமா சொல்லி குழந்தைகளை வந்து ஆச்சரியப்படுத்த முடியுமோ அப்படி பண்ணுங்க. You have
ஒரு
wonderful
கிட் செஷன்.
voice. You have wonderful voice, and you can combine so many things together, in my view. So I will be the first student.
Thank you so much. வேற யாருக்காவது any questions? You can raise your hands and I can unmute. Yes, all the devatas are described in Devi Mahatmyam also. Ama. You have many more devatas in Devi Mahatmyam, actually, which is very true. You have Narasimhi. Every devata has a Shakti which comes out of them, and and those Shaktis go back into them also. So it's a beautiful scene in Devi Mahatmyam. Lovely to read. Thank you. Any other questions? Anybody? Namaste.
Yes,
Arun Kumar sir.
First Shloka inniki adu pachit chintad bihi adu sentence konjam anvayam panni solla mudiyuma madam?
Chinda tatu vanam chindadbihi. So chindantau chindantaha adu shatru pratyayam.
Adu shatriyantam dadu. Okay, shatru pratyayam.
Shatrantam. Tritiya bahuvachanam. So tadvanam chintadbihi. Tadvanam becomes your karma for chedana kriya.
Okay.
ஓகே, சோ அந்த மரத்தை அந்த காட்டை வெட்டுகின்றவர்களினால் ஆங்காங்கே விடப்பட்ட இடங்கள் சேஷிதம் அப்படின்னு. So take that சேஷிதம் as the kriyapadam for chindadbihi சேஷிதம்.
Okay.
So that which was left over by the people who were cutting that forest. அப்படி.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. There is a question here. Is the devata word used for male and female also? Okay, Agni devata. Devata is a word which can be used for both male or female. Agni devata. Devata is divya roopam tasya vartate iti. So you can use it commonly for both male and female. There is no question about it. It is just an indicative of divinity. So the divinity personified, which is Agni, அப்படின்னு சொல்லணும்.
Okay. இன்னொரு question. The adhyasita, அது adhi plus as dhatu இல்லையா மேடம்?
ஆமா, yes.
Ta pratyayanta.
Kta pratyayam வந்திருக்கு. ஆமா.
இல்ல டாப் adhyasita இல்லையா அது?
kta தானே. டாப் கிடையாது. டாப் அப்புறம் உங்களுக்கு அது மதுராபுரிக்கு போகிறச்சே முதல்ல kta pratyayam வருது. So மதுராபுரி அத்தியாசிதா அப்படின்னு ஃபர்ஸ்ட். அது வந்து மதுரையானது இருக்கப்பட்டது அப்படி வரணும். இட் வாஸ் ஆக்குபைடு பை. கர்மணி பிரயோகத்துல அங்க இருக்கு உங்களுக்கு. So the city of Madurai was occupied by மாத்ருவர்கைஹி. இது
ஸ்லோகம் எல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் கர்மணி பிரயோக கொஞ்சம் குழப்பமாக இருக்கு ஒவ்வொரு சென்டென்ஸ் ஃபார்மேஷனுமே இதுல.
ஆமா. நீங்க அதுக்கு ஸ்பெசிபிக்கா நீங்க வந்து if you go into any course on vyoma, I think இவ பண்றான்னு நினைக்கிறேன். சௌமியா has just started. She's going to start one course on sentence construction and all that. So it will make more sense. இப்ப இதுல வந்து when you start doing the conversion between karmani and kartari and then using a lot of pratyayas, then it will be easier for you to do that. Kta pratyaya, shatru pratyaya இதெல்லாம் போட்டு நம்ம கர்த்தரி கர்மணி you have to do. அப்ப இன்னும் ஈஸியா மனசுல நிக்கும். வேற ஒண்ணும் இல்ல. அப்போ இது எப்படி வரும்னா மாத்ரு வர்காஹ மதுராபுரீம் அத்தியாசதே அப்படின்னு வரணும். then அத வந்து kta pratyayam போட்டாலே உங்களுக்கு வந்து இட்ஸ் ஆல்வேஸ் இண்டிகேட்டிவ் ஆஃப் சம்திங் தட் இஸ் பீன் டன் இன் கர்மணி பிரயோகம் வந்துரும் இல்லையா?
வந்துரும் இல்லையா அது?
சோ மதுராபுரின்னு இருக்கிறதுனால அத்தியாசிதான்னு வந்திருக்கு. அவ்வளவுதான்.
ஓ, அது ஸ்ரீலிங்கம்ங்கிறதுனால இங்க ஸ்ரீலிங்கம் வந்துருது.
அவ்வளவுதான். எஸ்.
ஓகே.
பிரம்மச்சாரிகளுக்கெல்லாம் இது குழந்தைகளுக்கு பூணல் போடும்போது அது இது அந்த அழைப்பிதழ் அனுப்பும்போது வதுவையும் ஆசீர்வதித்து.
வது இல்ல, வடு.
வடுவா வட்டுவா
வட்டு வட்டுகஹான்னு இருக்கும் இல்லையோ அதுதான் வட்டு.
வட்டுன்னு போடணும்ல.
வட்டுஹுனா பிரம்மச்சாரின்னு அர்த்தம்.
ஓகே.
வதுவைங்கிறது வந்து பிரைட். வது.
வது.
வது இஸ் பிரைட்.
ஓகே.
வட்டுனா பிரம்மச்சாரின்னு அர்த்தம்.
ஓகே. ஓகே. Thank you.
Namaste, Modi.
Namaste.
वीथिका उत्सवार्था सा विहिता विश्वकर्मणा चतुर्नामपि वर्णानां ता एवासन् पृथक् पृथक्. तस्य विवरणं किञ्चित्.
ओके. वीथिकाः विश्वकर्मणा याः वीथिकाः उत्सवार्थाः विहिताः. पूर्वं तु विश्वकर्मणा तत्र इन्द्रस्य शापविमोचनसमये तु इन्द्रार्थं तत्र मन्दिरं निर्मितं खलु विश्वकर्मणा. तदा at that point of time तेन विहिताः निर्मिताः वीथिकाः. ते वीथिकास्तु उत्सवार्थाः. In order to conduct utsavas, festivals, Vishwakarma had initially done a lot of margas. Those margas now became a street for the 4 varnas here.
Grama ivava.
அக்ரஹாரம் மாதிரி. இது வந்து அக்ரஹார தெரு. திஸ் இஸ் அ க்ஷத்ரிய வேளாளர் தெரு. இது வந்து படையாளர்கள் தெரு அப்படின்னு ஆயிடுது கிராமம். இவ
वीथिका नाम लघु वीथि वा?
लघु वीथि इति वक्तुं न शक्यते. कप्रत्ययस्तु स्वार्थे कप्रत्ययः वर्तते खलु. किमर्थं you don't need balika na, it does not need to be a smaller child. It can be वीथिका इति स्वार्थे एव. वीथि एव वीथिका.
अस्तु, धन्यवादः महोदय. प्रासादः प्रसाद अभवत् इति सम्यक्.
நல்லா இருந்ததுல.
ஆமாமா. प्रासादः प्रसाद इव शुशुभे.
That's a very beautiful. Yeah.
कुलशेखर महाराजेन निर्मितं मन्दिरमेव इदानीं वयं पश्यामः वा?
இல்ல, ஆக்சுவலி ஒரு சங்கத் தமிழ் போது அது திருப்பியும் ஏதோ ஆகி அது it has actually been rebuilt. Certain portions they say are still the same, but certain portions have been changed over years. தெரியல, அது வந்து historians பார்க்கணும். You need to go over the history of that.
निर्माणं सम्यक्तया विवरितं, बहु सम्यक् अस्ति. धन्यवादः महोदय. विशिष्य भवत्याः विवरणं बहु उत्तमम् अस्ति. धन्यवादाः. महोदयेन यदुक्तम् अहमपि 100% अङ्गीकरोमि. बालकाः बालिकाः शृण्वन्ति चेत् बहु उत्तमं भवति. अहं प्रयत्नं करोमि, मम अनुजस्य पुत्राय वक्तुं प्रयत्नं करोमि. भवती इव वक्तुं न शक्नोमि.
அது ஒரு ஆசை, அவ்வளவுதான். You know, it's a more reflective of what I like and how I express. அது
கேட்டா ஒண்ணும் புரியல.
இல்ல ஒண்ணு, அவ குழந்தைகளுக்கு சொல்றது ரைட்டு தான். அது குழந்தைகளுக்கு அது போகணும், ரீச் பண்ணுங்கிறா.
धन्यवादः महोदय.
ஓகே, நமஸ்தே. Any other questions?
கோயிலுக்கு நார்த் ஈஸ்ட்ல வந்து பாண்டியன் கட்டின்டான் இது அவனுடைய கிரகத்தை. அது வந்து அந்த அரண்மனை மாதிரி ஏதானு இன்னும் இருக்கோ நமக்கு
தெரியல.
இல்ல,
ஒரு தடவை பின்னாடி வந்து another லீலா probably in 27 or 30sல வந்து ஒரு லீலா வருது, where the entire Madurai city was completely flooded and it was gone. And then again this Siddha Purusha comes in and he gives the ஒரு பாம்பு, he throws his bracelet which is in the shape of a snake, and that snake slowly it holds its own tail in its mouth and then starts spreading out to show the circumference of the city. அது ஒரு லீலா இருக்கு. So this city was again destroyed and பலமுறை இது வந்து it was destroyed and it again only the temple was remaining ங்கறா. The garbhagraham alone was remaining and then it was again rebuilt ங்கறா. It was another அதனால்தான் ஹால ஆஸ்ய இது. ஹாலங்கிறது வந்து is the snake and asyam is its mouth. So with its mouth the snake spread and it marked the territory for Madurai. So அதனால தான் Madurai is called Halasya Kshetra. இது முதல்ல இன்ட்ரோடக்ஷன்ல சொன்னேன்.
ஆலவாய் இது தமிழ் பாஷை.
ஆலவாய்.
ஆலவாய்.
Okay, I think questions are also done. Okay, namaste. नमः सुंदरनाथाय तस्मै हालास्य वासिने चतुष्षष्टि विधा लीला येनाकारी भुवस्तले श्रीमत् सुंदरनाथस्य देवीं शपरलोचना कलये हृदये नित्यं कदम्ब वनवासिनी.